The IDS graph is loaded into TPP, and the first view that we see is a principal component analysis projection based on the attribute data. This splits workstations associated with NetBIOS events, horizontal axis, and IRC authorization events, the vertical axis. So we try to separate the points in the graph. First we try this automatically and we see the graph contracts and becomes unreadable. Next we try to separate the points manually. In the manual separation we pull out the Bank of Money accessible websites and then the workstations. We see that these are along two axes. Edges are coloured according to their source node. We see a bunch of edges going from the DNS to the workstation nodes. We grab these workstation nodes and try to pull them towards the DNS. This gives a less confusing layout. We also see 5 nodes linked to the firewall interface to the regional bank network. We grab one of these nodes and we see that 3 of the other ones also follow, indicating that they have some similar attributes. We also see one node that is less inclined to follow and is at the top of the graph. We grab this node and we also pull it down towards the firewall interface to the regional bank network. This initial separation of this other node indicates that it probably has some different attributes compared to the other 4 connected to the firewall interface to the regional bank network. Set the zoom of the projection and we start to explore what these makes these 5 nodes different. We select these 5 nodes and then we turn on their labels so we can identify their IP addresses. Since we have selected these 5 nodes, we can check in the table on the right hand side how the value of the attributes of these 5 nodes compare to the rest of the graph. By sorting, we see that they have high numbers of events associated with the database ports, the email ports, the SSH access, simple network management protocol, and VNC scans. Since we are connected to the database, we can bring up the raw data associated with these nodes. Immediately we see, if we look at the label column, that there is a pattern to these events. We also see, by looking at the time and date, that they all happen within the space of a few minutes. For the node with IP address 172.23.231.69, we see that there are many more events associated with this node, and that some of them are associated with the email ports and with SSH scans. By resetting the view of the graph, we can now pan and zoom up to the workstations connected to the DNS server. We select these nodes in order to be able to investigate how their attributes are affecting this layout of the graph. Like before, we reorder the table so that we can see the events that are most associated with these nodes. We see that these events are events associated with the NetBIOS. We open up the raw data associated with these nodes and we see a link to a Microsoft TechNet article which describes a patch that can be installed to the system to fix this vulnerability.